She took out a pack of ladies' cigarettes from her pocket, took one out and put it in her mouth, and then took out a lighter, and pressed it a few times anxiously. Then the flame was shot out and the smoke was lit. Against the flames, her face was very ugly. The cigarette was ignited, and Doris's lips lightly bit the cigarette butt and took a hard sip. The surroundings were quiet, and even the peculiar sound of tobacco being lit could be heard clearly. Doris rarely smokes and doesn't like to smoke, but because she has been very hard at work, she is often overtired and over-upset. At this time, smoking a cigarette can bring her some relief. Smoke erupted from her delicate nose. Feeling the stimulation of nicotine in her brain, Doris involuntarily shed 2 lines of tears. In her mind, her mother's words repeated. The window period for my father to get an organ transplant is only 20 days. If no suitable kidney source is found in these 20 days, the father's physical function will enter the end of the decline. In that case, his body will be so weak that it can't even support the surgical anesthetic drugs, let alone undergoing a major organ transplant operation. This situation is much like some elderly patients with terminal cancer. In summary, the body is very weak and the condition is very serious. Surgery? The body can't hold it. Chemotherapy? The body can't hold it either. In the end, there is no alternative but palliative care. To put it bluntly, it means to give up treatment and use painkillers instead to help patients relieve their pain in the last stage of life. Doris's father was only in his 50s. For Doris, she couldn't accept the death of her father at such a young age. However, the chance of trying to save her father at the moment is so slim that it makes people desperate. The cigarette burned out, she unconsciously lit another one, and in her mind, she remembered Walter's words again. At the same time, a multiple-choice question popped out subconsciously in her heart. There are 2 options for this multiple-choice question. Option A. Promise Walter, change her father's chance to survive. Option B. Reject Walter and watch Dad pass away. Doris's heart was extremely painful because this was the cruelest multiple-choice question she faced in her life for more than 20 years. At the same time, Walter was sitting in a Rolls-Royce, just driving away from the People's Hospital. Walter's full name is Walter Horowitz, an American, and his family is also a well-known real estate developer in the United States. He had been classmates with Doris in the early years and had always had a good impression of Doris. But because Walter was still under his family's nose at the time, he didn't dare to pursue an Asian woman grandiosely. However, the current Walter and the student Walter have different attitudes. He now has sufficient resources and initiative in the family, and now he has made his business in China and has begun to enter China's real estate field, so he immediately began to release himself from the clutches of the family. The first thing to release himself for is to reconquer Doris, an old classmate. This is not only because he has always thought about Doris. More importantly, Doris has made great contributions to the Emgrand Group in recent years, and her abilities have been highly recognized by the entire real estate field. She is not only capable but also very familiar with the China real estate industry. For a new American entrepreneur like Walter, if she can be used, it will not only be an excellent help but will also save many detours. In addition, Doris also has a great value, that is, she knows all the confidential information of the Emgrand Group. The real estate industry seems to be building and selling buildings. It does not develop any high-tech technologies or produce sophisticated equipment. It does not seem to have too much technical content or too much confidential information. But in fact, the real estate industry has more confidential information than most industries. Because they are very close to the relevant departments, large real estate companies often master the direction of urban planning and development to a certain extent. For example, a certain piece of land may be planned for development in the future, and a certain area may cover rail transit in the future. These are all confidential information worth 10,000 gold carats. In addition, every piece of land and every project must be tendered. The base of this tender is the absolute core secret. Once leaked, it will bring huge losses to the company. Therefore, Walter's wishful thinking is to be able to put Doris in his bag and then digest the confidential information of the Emgrand group she holds. Then, the Emgrand group will be hollowed out in a targeted and step-by-step manner, and finally, seize the entire Orus Hill market. At this moment, Walter looked at Doris's photo on the phone with a playful look, and said something in his mouth. Doris, this time, I must completely and thoroughly conquer you.